And go. Dominaria spoiler hype video number 12. There are so many spoilers today already that I'm having to make a second video because there's just so much to talk about and so many good videos and good cards that I have to break it up. So starting off with Braid's Frightful Return. One black and two colors for a enchantment saga with read ahead that reads Chapter 1, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, each opponent discards a card. Chapter 2 reads return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And Chapter 3 reads target opponent may sacrifice a non-land, non-token permanent. If they don't, they lose 2 life and draw a card. So, useful stuff all the way across the board there. Not unhappy. Next up is Leaf Crown Visionary. 2 green mana for a 1/1 elf druid. Other elves you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may pay 1 green mana. If you do, draw a card. Card draw in a green elf deck? I know people that have elf decks, and they're not going to be unhappy about that. Bonuses to your elves and card draw in an elf deck. Well, that sounds fun. Next up is Balmor, Battle Mage Captain. 1 blue, 1 red for a 1/3 legendary bird wizard with flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0, gain trample till end of turn. There's fun there for sure. Next up is Nail, Aviosa Aeronaut. 1 green, 1 blue, 2 colors for a 2/4 flying elf scout. As domain, whenever Nail Aviosa Aeronaut deals combat damage to a player, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. Put one of them on the top of your library, the rest on the bottom in a random order. If there are 5 basic land types among lands you control, draw a card. There you go. Next up, I am super hyped about this. And those people that, when I reveal this card, that like this type of card, these type of decks, will be hyped too. We have Rith, Liberated Primeval. 1 red, 1 green, 1 white, and 2 colors for a 5/5 legendary dragon with flying and ward 2. That's value in itself, but it also says other dragons you control have ward 2. Yikes. If you're playing dragons and this dude, your dragons just got harder to remove. Also says, at the beginning of your end step, if a creature or planeswalker an opponent controlled was dealt excess damage this turn, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. Time to give your dragons trample. But even it's excess damage over whatever. So if you're dealing excess damage with any of your creatures, you create a dragon token. That's just super powerful. Desirable. People that play Dragons decks will want this card. This is going to be like a Dragon Commander. And I wouldn't be surprised seeing Dragon Commander decks. It might go in my Dragon Commander deck. Who knows? Hoo-ha! Leyline Binding is a beefy one white and 5 colors for an enchantment with flash that reads, it has domain. This spell costs 1 colorless less to cast for each basic land type among lands you control. When Leyline Binding enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Leyline Binding leaves the battlefield. So, an imprisoned one that cares about you having lots of different color lands. Next up is Academy Wall. 1 blue and 2 colors for a 0/5 wall with Defender. Says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Next up is Electrostatic Infantry. 1 red, 1 colorless for a 1/2 dwarf wizard with trample. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Electrostatic Infantry. Again, another creature that cares about instants and sorcery spells. Please excuse my yawning. Next up is Tail Swipe. 1 green mana for an instant that reads, choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you cast this spell during your main phase, the creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Those creatures fight each other. Each deals damage equal to its power to the other. So, a fight spell. You always need those in green. Those can sometimes win or lose your game based on those. Again, excuse my yawning for whatever reason I'm yawning. Next up is Tatiova, Steward of Tides. 2 green, 1 blue for a 3/3 legendary merfolk druid. Says land creatures you control have flying. So if you have some stuff that's making your lands into creatures, now they're flying. Hoo-ha. Says whenever a land enters the battlefield, excuse me. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands, up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. And it has flying. So, I can probably won't see play in standard, but in Commander, I can see, I might put this in my Simic deck because it sounds fun. Next up is another hype card for Dragon decks. Listen to this one. Rivias of the Claw. 1 black, 1 red, 1 colorless for a 3/3 legendary Viashino Warlock with Menace. Already valued, but it says tap, add 2 mana of any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast dragon creature spells. Well, hoo-ha! And it also says, once during each of your turns, you may cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard. And whenever you cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard, it gains, when this creature dies, exile it, which is a common thing when you get stuff back from the graveyard. Hoo-ha! Dragon creature deck. Not unhappy with that. Next up is another powerful, both in the lore and in the cards, legendary creature in Joda the Unifier. Wooburg, white, blue, black, red, green, for a 5/5 legendary human wizard. Legendary creatures you control get +X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yahoo! So kind of similar to a mini cascade effect for legendaries. Not unhappy. Next up is Valiant Veteran, 1 white and 1 colorless for a 2/2 core soldier. Other soldiers you control get +1/+1. Well, you just boosted your white weenie deck up. And it says, for 2 white and 3 colorless, exile Valiant Veteran from your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on each soldier you control. Well, if you're playing with white weenie soldiers, there's kind of a card for you. Well, we have a little bit of time left. I'm going to reload the page, see if we got any more. Okay, one more card left. It's Souven Duplamancy. And for those of you who don't know, the Vesuvians are experts at cloning and copying creatures and spells. So Souven Duplamancy is 1 blue, 3 colors for an enchantment that reads, whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. What? When you target your artifacts or creatures, you create when you have spells that target them, your own stuff. When you cast spells that target your own stuff, you create a copy of the creature. Wow! Hoo-ha! Like I said, they're masters at duplication and copying and cloning. So it is a mythic, so it might be harder to find, but I can see uses for that. And it's not legendary. Because why not? I mean, if you're doing something like that to Joda, now all your legendaries get 2 times the +X. Well, that's it for right now. I might come up with some more spoilers later, but for right now, we're a little over 14 minutes into this, so I'm going to say we're going to end the video here. We're at 12 videos in this series. I think tomorrow is the last day of spoilers. I'm also going to do a video on the commander, the spoilers for the commander decks. And hopefully, I haven't seen anything yet, but hopefully we'll see maybe something with what's in the jumpstart decks as well. So the jumpstart packs. So you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next video.